for the pineapples and the things they are producing. This year, we launched it yesterday. We've extended it to beef with their wisdom. But now we have extended it into bees, make any problems, so it will not work. It has to work for us. And we are doing our best in, I forgot the vice, YIED. We actually launched the bigger one yesterday. What we did is, look at me, the way I'm dressed, I never thought I would do agriculture. Raw. We have to process it. So we are working in this association called COVAC, and they are going, right now, they are just finishing Salon du Chocolat in France, and I'm told, in fact, you can read the newspaper, it was another massive success. So these are some of the things that we need to know and run with it, because they are kind of low-hanging fruits. Now let me come to the 17 different priority products. In Ghana here, we, non-traditional exports are more than 400 different products. We cannot promote everything. So we are looking at the 17 most important products to promote them so that they can carry along the rest. We selected them based on a lot of things. The women, sectors where you find women, so that when women are supported, the community is supported. Women bring in a lot of developments, economic development. When the woman is gainfully employed, there's money in the house.
And I keep saying this, the only judgment we have is the same earth that we're supposed to be loyal to, is the same earth we're going to be buried in, and this earth has the right to spit us out and say you were not loyal to me. Okay? So we need to first understand. I told people recently, have we gone to the public ledger to check the percentage of food security we have? Do you know Ghana will not have food for the next couple of months? The percentage we normally say, I think, was 2 to 5%. This is public information. So we don't have food to feed ourselves in the next couple of months. Do we understand what that means? We're sitting here and talking about trading and wanting to export to here and there. We will not be able to feed ourselves. We're not understanding that. How many of us sitting here know that Russia yesterday closed the sea grain waters? They closed it yesterday. So are we going to still sit here and buy bread at 20 Ghana cedi? Because no, we cannot live without bread. So we need to get our act together. We need to start thinking. It doesn't mean that we can't make bread out of gari and we cannot make bread out of cassavas and all that. We can't just say because it's not our palate. We need to start thinking innovatively, collaborating with one another. That's what we need to do. We need to move away from this what's in it for me syndrome. Because even if you talk about financing, we all know about it. By the time you're going to go and try and take a loan or whatever, 22%, 24%, it's going to cost you 30% because by the time you have to pay the person who's going to accept your application, give him a bit. Go to the next person to get it signed, give him a bit. So we go into this thing where we ourselves are detrimental to our growth. Now, I say this again in another forum. What happened in South Africa? What happened in South Africa the year before and then a couple of years before that? The xenophobia. Was it the white man or was it a foreigner that did it to us? No, it was Africans fighting Africans. Okay? So my challenge to the AFTAC is, when we're going to see a Nigerian coming here, and all of a sudden, because there's going to be free trade of movement of people, do you think a Nigerian is not going to take 90% of the jobs here? Ask me as a Kenyan, well, come and take it. It's a hustlers movement. So for me, food security is one, but more than food security, it's going to be about people security. What's going to happen when people are going to cross over and say they want to take the job? Somebody's going to take a chichika seller's job, somebody's going to go into a coffee broke man job. Are you going to hear that that person is from Togo and this one is from Nigeria? You're hungry, you want to buy the coffee broke man, it doesn't matter who's selling it to you. So my question is, have we really sat down and looked at the fundamental issues? The fundamental issues. You talk about farms. I can tell you right now, there's 30,000 hectares right now in the northern region that is being grown by the Egyptians.
Talking about making affirmative action, the consciousness of giving women the opportunities and all that, it is not just having them represent, but to feel their presence. And so we are saying that for us as chamber, we are working, and we've already discussed with GIC, that we want to go beyond just telling them that if you manufacture this, you need to get your raw materials from A and B, to make sure that we help women in the medium term who are Because if you get a customer in any of the African countries and you are not able to produce to meet the demand, then you will be worse off because nobody will want to deal with the supplier who is not.
First thing first that we need to understand is that food insecurity is a global issue. It is not only prevalent to Africa and especially Ghana, but what is happening is that Africa continues to be the food basket and provider to international countries. So if you look at countries like India, for example, right now, they're controlling also what they can export to other markets. China is looking at that right now because they're going through big issues on the real estate. So what is happening is that each country, just like Ghana, normally takes a percentage of the food production and keeps it, for local food reserves. This is information that is public. People need to go and look into it. The food reserves that we have are not sufficient, and it can last us for a couple of months, depending on what our consumption rate is, which means we need to continue to start moving into local production even more, considering that imports will become less while each country is taking care of their own aspects. So food security is a big issue. We need to understand how we're going to feed our people. Where is this food going to come from? So that is the first aspect we need to look at. That I did say up there was that we produce what we don't eat, and we import what we eat. And by that I was giving an example on the rice. We use rice in everything from our breakfast to our lunch to our dinner. And yet this is the biggest import that we have is rice imports. Yet when we look at what we produce cocoa, but what are we doing with the cocoa? We're feeding other nations with it. So the question we need to ask, especially from a continental free trade perspective, is what is it that we can do to ensure that we continue to feed our people on the continent with what we produce? And what can we do to reduce what we are importing and start growing that locally within the continent? Talk a lot. And I keep saying it's no action, talk only. And that's why you see smaller groups coming together to do whatever they need to do in their own capacities. It's very important now for leaders on the continent to come together, bring in the brotherhood, the sisterhood, whatever you want to call it, and start thinking about ourselves as Africans and start understanding that we have no one coming to save us. And everybody is waiting for this continental free trade to fail. And for those who are not wanting it to fail are looking at how they can come from the outside into Africa to take advantage of the continental free trade so they can make it work. So what we need to do is to understand what is it that we can do as Africans, as nations, come together to be able to make this thing work. And I think it was rightly said, we need to look at this as the World Cup match. All African countries are players in this. Who needs to come out of this? How do we need to win? And we need to win for us as a continent. Things I said, you don't have to go out and shout and say, I'm powerful. Americans like to do that. It's just general the way they do it. But look at the Chinese today. It is the Chinese who are the most powerful. They are like a stealth. They never had to say they're powerful. They own the continent today, and we may choose to deny it, but we owe them a lot. But also, America owes, I think the last time I saw, the Americans own China $1.3 trillion or something. So China is powerful. And the person who is able to lend to you will continue to be in power until the time that you're not able to pay them back. So we need to, again, think about what is it that we can do within our continent. I mean, different nations have sovereign banks and monies. We need to move away from, having to borrow. Yes, we are in a situation, not only as Ghana, but we need to start looking at how we can get these resources from within the continent. And that I don't like saying think out of the box. I need people to start understanding there's no box. There's no limitation. We need to think differently. If fertilizers are not coming into the country, that doesn't mean we can't produce our own fertilizers. We never used fertilizers in the olden days. It doesn't mean that if, like right now, I told you Russia yesterday closed what is called the grain seas. So there's going to be now, no grains coming in. Does that mean we can't grow, a certain variant, or does that mean we cannot make bread out of cassava? We cannot make bread out of yam flour? It's all possible. Other countries are doing this and they're calling it organic or calling it healthy eating. So it means we just have to be able to start doing what we know we're used to eating it in just different forms. Can we now convert it and have it as bread and just change our palate and our way of doing things? We don't have to starve ourselves because somebody else outside is not going to be able to send us what we need.
So personally, what's your take home from this very gathering today?
My take home is we just need to move to action, and we need to collaborate. We need to collaborate as agencies, we need to collaborate as countries, and we need to collaborate as people, both at the top and at the bottom of the pyramid. If we don't do this, it's going to be survival of the fittest.
Please, your name and where you're coming from.
My name is Fatima Ali Mohammed. I'm the chair of the agribusiness sector at the Association of Ghana Industries and the CEO of African
Proper
Brand Warrior.
linkages with the programs and then the specific industries to a large extent. And I think when people finish universities, they have to decide where they will be welcome, right? So you may find somebody who did or who graduated from School of Agriculture and Agribusiness, but may end up in the financial sector. But you may also find somebody who graduated from the humanities or pure science, right, and will find himself in the agricultural sector. So probably that is what it is. But maybe more importantly, we have to look at the support mechanism, the structures that align, that offers enough incentive for the graduates to enter agribusiness and the value chain, agro-processing. Those are maybe more important now than just designing a program and asking them to major in those programs. Sometimes you can see a policy that is well designed, but in the implementation we are not efficient, and therefore we tend to accommodate a lot of inefficiency and wastage along those lines. So the policy objectives never get realized. I think that's where the issues come from. Sometimes the assumptions that are made underlining those policy prescriptions, we don't follow that exactly in the course of the implementation. And then you find that our own corruption and so many other things tend to undo the benefits that have been outlined in those programs. FTA is good. We recognize that it holds the key for economic transformation, but what is clear is that the level of awareness is very low. There's still a lot that has to be done in creating awareness so people can run with it, and also you realize that the frictions in terms of access to finance, macroeconomic stability that affect pricing, these are issues that we have to be able to resolve. To do so, it requires specific interventions, particularly for women-led businesses. Otherwise, Ghana will not be able to optimize the gains from the AFCFTA. Yeah. Thank you. My name is Godfred Alufabokun from the University of Ghana, Legon.
A regional program called the GIZ Support Program to the AFCFTA. We are doing that we are supporting and strengthening the framework conditions of implementing the AFCFTA on the regional level. So we have the program is at the regional level, at the continental level, and also at the bilateral level. So for the bilateral level, that is the Ghana component. This program we are doing is under the Ghana component. Anything to what? To trade. And so the purpose of this research was titled Making AFCFTA Work for Women Traders and Women-Led Businesses. And we recommend to government to do more with regards to what? Sensitization, and also providing some support for women businesses in Ghana.
In the context of this gathering, I think that all of us, wherever
seedlings and sucklets to ensure that we get the mass of the product that we need. Now, I also want to talk about like cocoa and chocolates. We produce
Thank you for watching Nation One TV. Kindly subscribe for more news updates.